official show here soon, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then once it goes live, it should show up on there. Let's see. All right. Here we go. Here we go.
Okay.
Hopefully everybody can hear us okay. We got our comments on. Everything is set. All right. Are we ready?
Sure.
All right.
It shall show up hopefully soon here.
Yep. Yeah. The show started out with a little music. Yeah. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another great episode of Conversations Under the Hood. I'm your host, Robert Helm, and our wonderful, great Dr. Lindy Way. We're here today feeling 110%. I'm so excited.
Yes.
It's been a while. I tried to do it last week, and your boy just wasn't there. And so now here we are, back at it 100%, and looking forward to having a great show. So Doc, why don't you, if you don't mind, while I share this out with everybody, if you could just give us a little recap. How was your week this past week?
It was a busy week. It was a busy week. Lot of work to do, on campus. We are in the middle of modernization right now for our network.
Okay.
So that's very, very heavily involved there.
Mm-hmm.
But I look forward to a weekend of fun with our friends and family.
Always.
Drumming. That was the highlight of the week. Yesterday, just drumming with our best friends, our family. We love them so much.
Right.
And so that was great. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Hey, well, we got a couple people already here. We got Miss Tracy Nicole. How you doing today?
Hey, how you doing, Tracy?
And the one and only Rob Green, a.k.a. Compass Ion, in the house, ladies and gentlemen.
Compass Ion.
So that's great. So, man, my week was interesting. I already got started. Let's see here. Are you not able to get in there?
No.
All right, refresh it.
Okay.
Refresh the screen. Yeah. Up here, babe. You know what refresh is, don't you? The refresh right there.
Yes, I see it.
Well, you pushing everything but that, though.
I see it. I was trying to see the comments, but anyway.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There. And then you can click on it.
Yep.
And then mute it so you can't. Yeah, mute it so you're not listening. Mute it. Mute it. Oh, there you go. There we go. All right. Talk about technical difficulties. Yeah, no, because if you don't, it'll get feedback. That's why I'm saying that. But this now, you can keep an eye over there.
No, I can see the comments here.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
All right, so we're
just overlapping in our conversation, but yeah. Okay.
Okay. Whatever that means, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure. But we're going to go ahead and finish off where were we there? We were talking about what my week was like, right? You were sharing a little bit about yours.
Yeah.
And so my week was pretty interesting. I beat off the code finally. That was pretty good, and thank you so much to the Caldwells for that, boy, because I'm not sure if she didn't give me all of those wonderful vitamins and things that I needed, man. Yeah, it was really, really helpful. So that was good. And then I had an interview. That was pretty exciting. I haven't really told many people, but that's something that has really got me really excited, because the opportunity to teach again and be able to share some experience and interesting enough in the middle of that interview. That's one of the things I was talking about is, it was been over 20 years, almost to the year. Yeah. Because when they look back on my resume, it was 2020, what was it, 2003, 2004. That I was teaching, and so here we are now, 2024. So it's literally 20 years.
20 years,
So that's going to be, very exciting. I told him, I said, I was I wasn't a hothead, but I was younger, and so now my skills have grown more. So I'm pretty excited now about.
You wear a hothead?
I didn't say that. I was close to saying that because I was thinking, I was more challenging, I would say, as a young man. And now,
I think that's the key.
What's that?
Wear a hothead. You would think you were challenging.
Yeah, well, more so, yes, than I am now. Because I still like to challenge, but not as, maybe for different reasons now. When I was younger, I was trying to prove stuff, maybe. I think, that's basically what I'm saying. So, anyway, that was that. And let's see. Yesterday we had a great opportunity to drum. Right, that was
That was
really
fun.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that
was
was fun.
awesome. Yeah.
And so I'm really looking forward to getting back into dancing and drumming, and hopefully we can do more of that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I have to say, the drumming, something about it is really therapeutic,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep.
Very healing. I know that when I start drumming, I just feel like I transcend to like a total different world.
Right.
And,
A different
I had
world
to.
is it. I agree.
Yeah, yeah. I translate to a total different word. And I have to be conscious and, come back to like, hey, we are drumming here with other people. Where are we? Find that home rhythm, home base. And,
Right.
but I feel like regardless of that, we're all just like in sync. And it wasn't rehearsed. We just got together and started drumming. So that was really exciting.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
reminds me of back in the day when we used to drum with our mentor, Dr. K,
Oh, yeah.
at his studio, and just people would just come by.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember that was my first experience with drumming, and then I think there was a saxophonist that came one time, and I thought that was really an interesting dynamic when you got a
Yeah.
saxophone playing with djembes and
Yeah.
doon and things. I thought that
Yeah.
was a
And
really
one
unique.
time we had a guy who brought his own, percussionist, not djembes or
Oh,
anything
really?
like that. But yeah,
Oh man.
yeah, it was really interesting. Just seeing both, the drummers talk,
Right.
Dr. K talking through his djembe,
Uh-huh.
and the percussionist guy just, answering back with all his instruments and
Yeah.
all of that together. It was really exciting. Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, I spoke to someone today who had mentioned, they saw some video footage of us drumming yesterday,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they were really complimenting your ability to drum and improvise on the drum, and all of that, which I thought was that was definitely consistent with everything that I've seen, because
Yeah.
I remember back in the day when I wouldn't say it'd be like a challenge, but you and Dr. K, y'all would be, man, y'all would go back and forth and be clapping hands in the middle of drumming and just all of
Yeah.
that, and it
Yeah.
kind of gave me chills. It was like a flashback, in a way. Sitting there
Yeah.
listening. Then we watched it again this morning on video, and it was just like I could see the spirit coming out of you. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
were like
Yeah.
definitely connecting with that, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say real quick, welcome to everyone who is here again. I'm not sure who all is. We had somebody just pop in and pop out there, but today's show, as you see, I said that we back at it with business and family, right? And so I know you and I, we were talking briefly before the show, trying to just get back on track with what we have been doing in the past with the show. So this last solid show that I can really remember
Yeah.
was when we were kind of just giving each other a battery of questions, if you will.
Yeah.
And I believe it kind of left off with me asking you various questions. So I'm not sure, what you have in your arsenal today, but let's go ahead and open the show and let's see where we at. Hey, we got nephew here, Madala. What's happening, brother?
Dollar. Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
Always,
Yes. Thank you
always
for
great.
joining us.
Yes.
We missed y'all. We were sick and all kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just taking turns,
Right. Hey, we don't
We had
even
to
want
be
to
off social
acknowledge
media
that, though.
for a
I'm
second.
telling you,
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk about being
We
sick
love
no more.
y'all. Thank you.
Yes. So go ahead. All right. So I don't know
Okay.
what you got. I'm ready.
Well,
So
speaking of Madala, when I was in the UK,
Mhm.
this young man, somehow he gathered enough building materials,
Mm-hmm.
scraps where people were giving away or putting it on a campsite,
Right.
and he built what he calls it a Shibambu shack, and it will be like, oh, it was amazing. He has like a sitting area there, a place where you put your alcohol and people sitting by a bar.
the bar.
I can't think of. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just coming back full time. But and it was amazing, very well crafted.
Uh-huh.
With materials that he was able to put together.
Yeah, I
Which
saw that.
leads me, oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. So you gotta do something with that outside garage.
Yeah.
Make it a man cave.
Yeah.
Because if he can do it,
Oh, ain't no question.
while working full time
Yeah.
job, while raising kids and being super attentive to his amazing, beautiful wife, you can do it.
Yeah.
So
I hope so. You know, I got some years on that young fella, so his spirit and his heart is in probably a different place than mine is right now. But I'm with you. I'm
Yeah.
excited. You know, being sick for a period of time, right? Like I would say about 2.5 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Um, coming out of that, man, I'm like energized now. You know, I'm
Yeah.
motivated. So to do something like that, I feel very
Yeah.
excited about doing that. And I talked to Madala not a couple of days ago, I believe it was, and he's talking about coming to visit the family here in the U.S. and stuff. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like again, it put a
Oh
little fire under
man.
me and said, hey,
Yeah.
we got to do something, man, because if we're gonna have family coming in from out the country and all that, we
Yes.
want to make
Gotta
sure we're
make sure they have a
hospitable
good
and
time.
yeah, they got a comfortable place to be and all that. So that's great. So let's roll into this conversation.
So I mentioned Madala's shack, to come to the questions that I have for you today
Okay.
in the construction space.
Uh-oh.
And before we get there, I'm having a squirrel moment. Madala means OG.
Oh, original gangster?
Yeah,
What?
OG, like old gangster,
Oh, no
old
wonder.
man.
Hey, that's where
old
all that
man,
swag come from. Okay, okay, I
Madala in
see.
one language, yeah, that's like
Yeah.
those old men that just, know it all, being around, been there, done that, just for context, because you're saying his name so well now, so
Yeah.
I just had to throw that in there.
No,
Shout
that's
out,
great.
OG.
Oh, no, yeah. Madonna in the house, baby!
Right?
Yeah, that's
Anyway.
awesome. All right, so what you got?
All right, I want to jump to this first question.
Okay.
What's the craziest request a client has ever made on a build project? In a quality vision construction. So.
Oh, man. Yeah, so we're going to jump right into that, boy. You're going to jump right in the deep end. All
Yep.
right.
And this is the easiest one.
Yeah, you probably should have gave me these questions ahead of time so I could think about it. All right, well, if I had to just kind of pull something here quickly, I would probably say one experience I had was this is back when I used to do investment property work,
Yeah.
and during that time, investors, they try to make the most and spend the least, right? Usually. And so I had one customer who, they just basically wanted to cover up everything. They didn't want to fix anything, so it was like, I'm trying to think specific, like it might have been flooring or something like that.
Yeah.
So like instead of actually like repairing the floor in a way where you might level the floor, if it's wood, you might refinish the floor, that kind of thing. There's a way to do it, and then there's a way to do it right. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so a lot of investors that I had dealt with in the past, maybe not a lot, but some of them that I had dealt with, were more inclined to take the cheap way. Like, instead of actually sanding it down and then filling gaps and things of that nature, they say, oh, just put another coat of polyurethane over it. You know what I mean? And so you have something that looks all shiny and you think it's done properly, but then when you start walking on it, either your feet are sticking to it because it wasn't, properly, the previous finish wasn't removed so it didn't dry right, or you wind up with all these funny looking bubbles or stains, and and so it's unfortunate because like being on the other side of it as an inspector, right, for the homeowner that's looking to buy, they want to try to get everything, they want it to be perfect, and you know what I mean? So looking at both sides of that is crazy. So I say probably for me, the worst thing is when people try to get you to do something other than what's right. You know what I mean? To save $1 or to just speed up the process.
Right, to make it look shiny instead of, quality.
Right. Instead of being done correctly.
Yeah. I thought I had a different.
Come on, what you thinking? Tell me, because I need inquiring minds want to know.
No. The funniest one for me, or the craziest one, is the client who was trying to get you to remodel the basement. But they wanted to compensate your labor with making you breakfast.
Oh boy. Okay.
And called you, from the basement whispering. You remember that?
I unfortunately do. See, now those are...
that's crazy.
Well,
that's because the question said the craziest
that's true.
request.
That's true.
I had to open your eyes on that.
See,
like,
okay.
Who called you?
So, yeah, I've had a few different situations like that. I'm not sure what it is. It's, I don't know, because I dress down. I'm usually looking like a worker, got glue and paint and everything
ladies
on me.
need love too.
That must be what it is, because some something about it is attractive to him. I don't know. I don't
A
think
man
about
in
it.
a uniform,
Oh, okay, maybe that's what it is. But yeah, no, that I forgot about that one. That's why I said if I
Yeah.
had time to think about it, man, there's been a few of those that have definitely been a little, awkward, if you will, in terms of dealing with customers. But yeah,
Yeah, that
that boy,
was, I mean, honestly, instead of like, oh, jealous, why you calling my husband like that? I was scared for your life.
yeah,
You know, I
yeah,
was like, you gotta be careful.
yeah.
Not all breakfasts are good breakfasts.
Indeed, but
One.
see, and
And
I
two,
went out with the wrong foot because I was like, she had, oh, maybe not, never mind. I'm not gonna go there. But yeah, yeah, that was,
oh, she hooked it up.
hey, I'm gonna just leave
She
that one
made
alone.
some grits, some bacon.
Uh-oh, wait a
You
minute.
don't know what was in that grits, but
Look, Tracy, she cracking up. I'm just gonna leave. Listen, some things ain't
Tracy,
meant to be talked about. I guess not live anyway. I'm gonna just leave
girl,
that one
Tracy,
alone.
I was afraid my husband will come home slow eating them breakfasts. You just never know.
I like to eat. I mean, a good breakfast is a good thing, unless it
I
has the
was
wrong
like,
intent behind it. So,
so lucky, hey, I'm the boss in the business. I said, I don't care how many breakfasts you eat
yeah.
or how many whispering calls you get. Here's the bill, and it has to be paid on time. All those breakfasts dried up rather quickly. You know?
That's true. That is very true.
So that's the craziest one, you know. But hey, in this business, you just have to do the best quality work, stay in your integrity, and kind of be, I don't know, kind of like see things coming, because sometimes my husband is just super nice and super respectful.
Man, you gotta say it
So
like that. That's how the next thing is super naive, y'all. She might as well go on and I'll say it for her because I know that's where we going with this. Yeah, I was a little. See, what happens when you're traveling around and you're not thinking about all of the potential things that can happen. I'm just kind of zoomed in on getting the work done. Let's see what we got here. Madonna says, "Not all breakfast is good breakfast."
I'm telling you, it's coming back.
He said, and that's a nugget right there.
That's a nugget.
That's right.
That's a nugget, Madonna. I'm telling you.
You got it right there,
Because
boy.
some of this I remember. Okay, so I'm gonna go a little bit deep into it. So I was like, why is this client calling you whispering? My husband is like, I don't know, sounds like she's in the basement. I said, ask her if she's okay. Why is she whispering? And then he comes like, well, my baby daddy is here. I said, oh, okay.
Yeah, buddy.
I said, we need to be done with that contract as soon as
Real
yesterday.
quick. Yeah, real quick.
Let her know that, we're going to move on to another client, and if she needs anything else to go into our website, sign up. And then call me directly. I will work with it from there, because I guess I'm not I wouldn't be threatened by that situation, the baby daddy involved and all that. So I just didn't know what my husband, poor thing, was stepping into, and being lured by this southern hospitality breakfast.
That's
I just broke.
why I gotta be Southern hospitality.
I mean, it was funny. And it's almost like it's like older ladies kind of like, come on, right line, like once they hit, no disrespect.
Man,
it's just that it was one after another. Each one of them offered, would you like some breakfast? Do you like grits?
Hey, people like to eat, man. Come on now. What is that?
Not me. Not all breakfast is good breakfast. I'm telling you.
Hey,
I need to know cooking it.
Okay.
How you cooking it? What
Next
you
question.
putting in it?
Next question.
Okay, next question. Let's go. Okay. What's one building trend or home feature you think will be outdated in 10 years?
A feature or a trend?
A trend that will be outdated in 10 years, whether it's drywall, whether it is, I don't know, wallpaper.
Well, I think a trend that may in 10 years not be definitely as common would be your traditional building. You know what I mean? And I say that because one thing that I'm noticing is, especially with the more that we do business with other countries, they have different ways of doing things. And when it comes construction, there's a lot of prefabricated things, like prefabricated walls and, roofing and a lot of things of that nature. And I'm like, it seems to me that the skill set of building, one stick at a time, if you will,
Uh-huh.
at some point in the future is probably going to be obsolete, or it'll be very few people who are doing that. Because if you can buy, you know, not necessarily a pre-assembled home, but one that is the pieces are just a puzzle piece that you have to assemble,
Right.
um, that's going to be way more efficient than doing it stick by stick.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, they also have they're like 3D printed homes now.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
pretty soon, like those things are producing homes that are way more efficient than you can build with by hand, stuff like that. So
Yeah, yeah.
I think the more of those become desired and the cost comes down in doing that type of work, I think, like I said, that typical stick building is probably gonna be.
Yeah, fade
Yeah,
in.
you'll only find that probably with custom,
Yeah.
specific custom building and stuff.
Do you think we're ever gonna go towards environment friendly kind of structure? And I'm saying this because I saw this young lady. She has, her own TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
her own account and all this across social media.
Mm-hmm.
And she's located somewhere. I want to say Kenya, and I may be wrong.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But she has this sarcastic sense of humor,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where she answers questions when people say, "Hey, do you have houses in Africa?"
Mm-hmm.
And then she walk past all these contemporary
Oh yeah,
big
yeah. I've seen
mansions,
that
and then
before.
she goes
Uh huh.
to stand by the tree and say, do we have houses in Africa? No, we don't. But she just showed the whole video walking past all this, But anyway, she started talking about, and she used the humor, which I thought was really great, and I appreciated, to show that sometimes some of those so-called mud huts,
Mm-hmm.
in Africa are very environmental friendly,
Mm-hmm.
and that was one common way of building structures
Okay.
in South Africa. I mean,
Okay.
in Africa altogether.
Okay.
So I'm saying that to ask if you think, the world, as we are moving towards being a little bit more friendly to our environment, do you think we're ever gonna adapt, building in a way that is environment friendly and safe?
We may not have a choice at some point,
Yeah.
with the way that global warming and things, at least the way that they discuss them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think, like green energy and lead building, those types of things where you are taking into consideration as
Mm-hmm.
many environmental factors as possible so that you can work with nature, if you will,
Right.
to minimize costs like lighting and heating and cooling, those types of things.
Mm-hmm. Or
Uh,
concrete jungles, which are not good for people with asthma
well, all
and
of
so
that,
forth.
but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I think so. So real quick though, because we
Mm-hmm.
are about 22 minutes into this, we want to make sure that we remember the nuggets because we
Yeah.
want to get back to leaving
Yeah.
nuggets. And I
I
think,
left mine
yeah,
already.
hey, not eating everybody breakfast is definitely a good nugget, boy. I'm like, hey, if that ain't the truth. But then also, I wanted
Mm.
to make sure we get a chance to talk about the next 50 years planning.
Yeah.
So as we were talking about this construction stuff, I want to make sure that we save time because that was some subject matter that I wanted to get in because I think
Mm-hmm.
for our viewers and for ourselves, those are important things for us to start thinking about. So,
Okay. All right. Cool. So let's move on.
okay.
You know, what's the biggest challenge of being both a licensed builder and the CEO? I'm sorry, COO of a company that's owned by your wife.
What's the biggest challenge? Taking directions.
Tagging directions. I would have never guessed that
Yeah.
one.
No. Honestly, I think the biggest thing for me is like for us to be on the same page at the same time.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times we arrive there
Mm-hmm.
after maybe several discussions or maybe somebody just deciding to move forward and then having a discussion thereafter.
Mm-hmm.
But I think yeah, just being on the same page at the same time sometimes can be a challenge, especially if I don't have the knowledge that you have or you don't have the knowledge that I have.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes bridging that gap can slow that process down.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That yeah, I can see that. That's
Hmm.
fair. Yeah, a couple of times we're coming from total different perspective
Hmm.
because I'm focusing sometimes on the numbers,
Hmm.
on the duration of the project,
Right.
on the customer,
Right.
special commercial project. But then you know the skill set, you know the tools that you have, you know the employees that you have, and that sometimes we may be in a different page.
Sure.
Because I'm looking at the timetable like that. You're looking at like, no, it's more than a notion.
Right.
To hang a drywall. So yeah, I can see that. All right, we're gonna keep it moving. Any questions or comments?
Let's see here. Nope, nothing yet. Doesn't look like. Hey, feel free, by the way, anybody, if you have questions, comments, or points that you would like us to discuss,
please.
please don't hesitate to drop it in here, because the doc is, she's on the job right now. So let's give her heck.
Yeah.
All right. So what else you got?
I'm gonna skip over a few of them.
Okay.
Here because we don't have a lot of time. What's the one tool you couldn't live without on a job site?
The one tool, honestly, man, a hammer.
Mm.
Believe it or not, I can do a whole lot with a hammer, man. You'd be surprised. Especially the right kind of hammer, you know what I mean? Because you can use a hammer for leverage, you can use it for knocking in things, you can use it for breaking things off, you can use it for shaping things if you know how to use the backside of the hammer. I mean, like, there's a lot of things that you can use a hammer for. So I would definitely say a hammer.
Wow. My dad was a builder as well, and that's all he had was his nails and a hammer.
I mean, man, you can do a lot.
Sickle,
yeah. Something to cut and something to swing.
I often wonder when I see all these tools that you have, like how was my dad able to build all those structures back home with very limited tools?
Right.
Even the wood that he used, he will go actually in the forest to cut up trees and
wow.
create all that. Yeah. So anyway,
that's amazing.
That's why it's
well,
amazing.
I mean, the thing is like this. You can have a whole bunch of tools, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, people buy specialty tools for a specific purpose, you know? And so that's where you wind up with a whole bunch of tools. But like the tool that you use a lot of, you know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. Like the hammer gets a lot of use. It's like a drill in a way. A drill gets a lot of use,
Yeah.
But yeah, I like to think of a tool that is useful without power, because you don't always have power. And like I said, a hammer, if I was stuck out in the forest, give me a hammer, because a hammer could be a weapon, it could be a tool. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Yeah. Okay. What is the biggest argument you had over a project?
The biggest argument
you've ever had, and it doesn't matter with who it is.
I don't think I've really had any arguments that I can think of. Well, let me. He might be watching actually. So.
Don't mention names.
Yeah, I'm not gonna mention names, but
just talk about the content.
Yeah, the one project that I can think of that I really that became something that I could think of would have either been a really tough discussion or argument, if you will, was a roofing project. That we had done out of East Lansing for somebody that you know.
I remember that.
Yeah,
and
that was
my colleague.
I had a couple of employees who were involved in some things that they should not have been on the roof, which alerted some neighbors, and then when I confronted them about that, that was a problem.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, looking at some of the craftsmanship of some of the work that I knew, like the person that I left in charge was capable of doing, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they were okay with it, like, oh, what the heck, it's on the back of the house, or that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That was a tough, that almost came to a physical conversation. So so that's one of those things that, if I had to look back, that's probably one of the only times that I can remember really being at a point where I'd be willing to argue or fuss and fight over a project.
Yeah, that one was also high profile because we're talking about an employee of my university, and it was more consequential than it appeared. And
absolutely.
And I think we handled that really well because I understood that it was a little bit out of your hand, and
that's a great question.
I came from a perspective like, how can I help, navigate this while trying to maintain a reputation, because it's very important to understand that sometimes the people that you employ can cost you your business reputation.
Absolutely.
And that was one of the examples
Mm-hmm.
where it was so close. So I have to repair all of that, repair the relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that you and I are also making sure that this argument do not, pollinate to our marriage.
Right.
Because it can be very challenging at balancing that.
All right.
It was a test,
Mm-hmm.
for us, and I think we did well.
We got a good question here from Tracy. She says, "How does your business look different now versus when you first started?"
Wow.
Go ahead.
Go
I'm gonna
ahead
let.
and
No,
answer that.
I'm gonna fill in the blanks.
Tracy, is so interesting because the way we first started, it was survival for us. It's not like we sat down and say, hey, let's have a business plan,
Mm-hmm.
let's project, let's, talk about our mission and vision, let's talk about what we want our business to look like, right?
Right.
It was more like my husband had just, lost his job from LCC, teaching as he was talking about. He also had just lost his job as a HVAC manager. So which was, we still had bills, outstanding bills.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to learn to build. Plus, he's the person that cannot sit still. So we started with our house, and I was like, "Here's a house for you to practice." Woo, yeah, that's what it looked like. I came home and find holes, on the floor, on the walls and all that, which was a little bit stressful. But when it started taking shape, I was like, that's your talent. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
So my nugget on that is that once you realize that your partner, your spouse, your friend, whoever closest to you have a talent, nurture that talent. Because that's how my husband discovered how talented he was when it comes to constructions. So that's what it looked like. Now, how does it look like? I'll let you answer that today.
All right. Well, let me just acknowledge Shane Madala's comment here. He said, "A physical conversation." I'm definitely still in that scene.
Yeah.
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 So,
I hear that.
all right. So to address that for me, when I look at where we started, it definitely was like your small one man shop.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we started out with just really we started in the home inspection arena.
Yeah.
That's kind of how we branched off into construction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like also we were doing some DIY stuff around our house, right?
Right.
So before we got into doing any real construction, we just would like most homeowners just trying to do
Yeah.
what we could to save a buck, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and being involved with home inspection just opened my eyes up to all of the different aspects of a home.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
once you can understand and separate those components, then it makes it a little easier, right,
Mm-hmm.
to figure out how to work with them or how to change them. And so that home inspection knowledge helped build the construction knowledge.
Right.
And starting out doing, things like I said as a one man show, remodeling a kitchen or refinishing some cabinets or doing some flooring, those kinds of things with just minimal help. Most of the time it was the kids, right? I took my
Oh yeah.
children when I
Yeah.
first started doing construction.
You have to buy them little plastic
Yeah,
tools.
I
So
would
they
take.
can
I had
build in a few
two of my youngest children at the time. I think
Yeah.
were 2, 3, 4, somewhere in there. And so
Yeah.
I used to take them with me, and the kind of work I used to do at that time was like refinishing decks, and so
Yeah.
nothing that was super
Remodeling.
intense. Yeah. But then now here we are, 20 plus years later, and we've taken on much bigger projects.
Yeah. Special commission.
Things, yeah, that I had not thought that would even be something that we would do because we've been doing remodeling for so long.
Yeah.
And so getting involved into commercial work where, we have to have multiple employees to do large projects,
Yeah. And
that's,
the business side of things, how to deal with, how to understand contracts.
well, I
know,
think
and
that's
all of that.
relevant on any level.
Yeah.
So, but we have
But
grown,
in
right?
yeah.
We've grown from the limited basic kind of contract, if you will, that you might have with the homeowner doing something small,
Right.
to dealing with a larger contract that has multiple pieces, because there's multiple contractors involved. So, so I would say that's the biggest difference now is just understanding that everything starts at a small place.
Yeah.
Even a big giant project, you still have a starting
Yeah.
point. And
Yeah.
so that's what I learned, over these years is that I can do anything
Yeah.
if I start small. and work my way up. So
True.
hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, true. Yeah, no, that's a nugget right there. I like that. Like the biggest, construction or building or whatever started really small,
Yeah, start small.
right?
Yeah.
And I always tell my employees this, basically when we talk about, um, what's, yeah, that's a really good nugget.
Yeah.
And
Okay, calm down.
calm down. Yeah, y'all need to. No, but what I want to say about that is like, think about this. Even the biggest person, the most revered person, the most successful person, the biggest leader of any country, if you will,
Right.
was once upon a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Those are Bob Marley's words, by the way.
Right.
The biggest man you've ever seen was once upon a baby.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So everything starts really small. Just about everything starts really small and it grows. So sometimes we look at people and we feel some kind of way, whether it's respect for them, whether it's feeling intimidated because they're more successful than you are and everything. If you keep this perspective, like that person, was once upon a baby too, and they needed their diaper changed, so they're not very different from you,
Right.
except that they went a path that maybe allowed them to get there. But yeah, so sometimes I'm like, hey, just as your supervisor, I'm not very different from you at all. I just have a
Right.
different role, different responsibilities.
Right.
But deep down, we're all the same.
Right.
And that goes all the way, even the presidents, of these companies,
All right.
you know.
So our two nuggets as it stands right now is you can't eat all breakfasts.
Not all breakfasts are
Can't
created
eat
the
all,
same.
yeah, not all breakfasts are created equal. Madonna, thanks for bringing that one back to the forefront.
Right.
And then taking small bites, and that's what I'm kind of rephrasing
start
it as.
small.
But if you
One
start
step
small,
at a time. Yeah.
yep, and you look at the big picture, you can work your way through that. So I think those are really important pieces. So let's
Yeah.
let's start to segue
Yeah.
into.
I have one more.
Okay.
One
All
last
right.
one.
All right. All right.
Because I know you, and this one, I think is an important one. How do you balance perfectionism with keeping a project on schedule? Because
How do
you
you-
are a perfectionist.
Well, this is actually a
To a
really good
point.
question because
Yeah.
in my interview, they kind of asked that question too,
Yeah.
or something similar to that. But basically, how do you stay on schedule? And you know what? My response to that is, when you plan a job out, right, you try to compensate for everything that you can imagine going
Right.
wrong, right,
Right.
or going right. And what I found that works best over the 20 years for me, because I usually tell my customers when I first start that
Yeah.
if time is what you're most concerned about, then I'm probably not the right contractor. If I'm being completely honest,
Okay.
because I'm more concerned with high quality outcomes than I am with the time
Right.
that I've so-called committed to getting the project done.
Right.
And my experience has been that customers, even in cases where I have overshot the timeline, which doesn't happen often because I try to anticipate and add a little bit more time to compensate for problems.
Right.
But communication and letting folks know if you are, let's say, running
Yeah.
behind.
If you're running to.
You want to.
Things that
Those are
we're
things
known
that
to.
you want to be monitoring the project all the way through, so that early on or as early as possible that hey, we're not going to complete this on the 15th. We might need till the 20th because X, Y, and Z. Is
Right.
that going to be a problem? And then
Yeah.
if it is a problem, then we can talk about potential solutions for that, which might mean we have to bring more contractors on or more employees on, we might have to pay a premium to get the materials delivered faster, like there's variables that can be adjusted in some cases but not in all cases. And so that's why my primary goal in trying to balance that is just communication, because I think the majority of people that I've encountered and kind of observed is that they want you to do what you say you're going to do.
Right.
And so as long as you are saying something frequently, like, hey, this is where we are in the project. Things
Yeah.
are moving along great. It looks like we're going to be able to finish on time. Great. However, if we run into a problem, let's identify that problem as fast as possible. Figure out the impact that it will have on the duration of the project.
Right.
And then have another conversation with the homeowner. Say, hey, look, we encountered this problem here, which might constitute a change order. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or not. And so, but for me, this is kind of where I think the trade-off is. My customers usually are repeat customers.
Yeah.
And they value the
That's
fact
true.
that I take the time necessary to do the job right.
Right.
So in some cases, it gets the job done faster. In some cases, it may slow
It takes
down
longer.
the process because instead of just slapping up drywall so the drywall is up, I
Right.
want to put it up and make sure that my joints are as tight as I can make them. Because if they tight, the outcome, the finished product is better. You know what I'm saying? You don't wind up with stuff popping out and what have you.
Which
But
takes longer, to
yeah, because now,
correct.
yeah,
Yeah. So do it right the first time.
now some people might argue the drywall is up and it's in place regardless if there's cracks and gaps because all that stuff could be filled in, right? So that's another thing. But is that high quality?
Right.
Well, if they're looking at the finish and not the whole process, right, then you might not even realize there is any difference in that. But for me,
Right.
I'm more about making my joints tight, cutting my lumber, making sure I got and that's another thing. I guess what I'm saying ultimately is it's not that I don't charge my customers more if I take longer. I wind up usually eating some of the cost because what's more important to me than making all of the money
Yeah.
is that the finished product, the customer is happy with it, and I'm happy with it. So when I
Right.
walk
Right.
away, I can walk away with full confidence or as high as possible. So,
Yeah. So does perfectionism get in the way though? Sometimes with
it
people
does.
having in time.
No,
And
it
I'm
does.
asking you this specifically because you and I have worked together, and you are a perfectionist to a point. I remember, but one thing, another nugget that I've learned from you is that you said, see that wall. The reason why it has to be symmetrical, it has to be perfect, is because it's my name on that wall. When
Right.
people walk in this building and see that wall, they see QVC, Quality
Right.
Vision Construction,
Right.
and I don't want my name to be imperfect.
Right.
To have all these crooked joints and all
Right.
of that. And so that's why with tiling, I'll never tile with you. Because you come and you see lines, you're like, that is a little high, it's a half an inch higher or off, so you got to fix it. I'm like, how do you even notice that? And then, I remember one of our employee was so mad because you made him take the whole tiles of the floor after it tiled it because
Yeah.
it wasn't lining up your way. So I got to the point where when we're tiling, you tile, I'll do something else
Yes.
instead of doing it together.
Well, part of that is I want to make sure I gotta acknowledge that we
Yeah.
got another question here. So let me
Yeah,
just
Tracy
hold on.
saying-
Hold wait. Let me just
Oh, go ahead.
respond to what you were saying because part of that effort, that extra effort, if you will, is really me trying to focus on the cosmetic aesthetics.
Yeah.
One pet peeve that I have for my work, but just for other people's work, is if I can walk in and see an obvious difference between what was versus what is.
Yeah.
That drives me crazy, man. I can't
Right.
stand to see it look like Lego. Somebody just came in and put a purple Lego on a group of white Legos or something.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how much it stands out to me. That's why
Right.
lines of symmetry are so important because they give up so much information.
Yeah.
Because if you look straight and you can see a line, a horizontal line, but that horizontal line is slightly on an angle.
Yeah.
You see,
Yeah.
all of that stuff starts to tell me different. And that's my home inspection
Yeah.
coming into play too. So
It's contagious because now I can't go to buildings, even at the university. I'm starting to see imperfectionists. I'm like, no, stop. I'm like, why? But
let's quick to I'm sorry, finish what you were saying, but I just
no,
wanna make sure
no,
we
I'm done. That's what I
Okay.
was saying.
Tracy says the bathroom basement job y'all did was amazing work. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes, we worked hard on
Oh,
that
that
one.
was like for our client from Yeah, that was.
She
nice.
says, "What is the hardest, most fun part of being an entrepreneur?"
"Ooh, being broke."
Yeah, I mean that is definitely a big part. I mean, because
Yeah,
as an entrepreneur, you usually are not great at anything, other than starting the idea, right? And then you got to learn all of the skills that are a part of that idea. So that's a hard part for me because I just jump in the deep end normally. My philosophy is you do all you can do until you can do what you want to do. And so that usually leads me down paths that I have to learn new information. You know what I mean? To be able to do that. So
Yeah.
so I would say, yeah, that's probably the hardest part for me as the type of entrepreneur I am. So
Yeah.
if you're an entrepreneur who is like doing, like, let's say if I was just in the construction and that's all I did, then, that'd be one thing. That's
Yeah.
one type of entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Then me,
You're doing it
I
all
I try to
sports.
do, anything that comes into my head that seems viable, I'm jumping
Yeah.
on it. So,
And I think that's the fun part, right? Or the funny part. The fact that all your ideas, you
hmm
want to actuate them.
yeah,
And therefore
all
you
at the same
always
time.
have many parts on the fire. So that's the fun part, Tracy. But my personal favorite is that as an entrepreneur, you are your own boss, so you are your own paychecks.
hmm
Some months are good and some months are dry. You're not getting that paycheck. So learning, that to control your finances to a certain extent, but also your emotions in
Right.
terms of like how do you respond during
hmm
that time where the money is not coming in as good.
Right.
And because we have kids, we're married, and I've seen so many of some of my friends where sometimes they let the financial problems trickle into their marriage. So
hmm
that is something to keep in mind. Like, hey, so my husband and I, we're used to it. The days that the funds are dry, we'll eat ramen noodles and keep it moving.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Put things in perspective and make sure that you never let money get in between you and your spouse or
hmm
your husband, your
Right.
partner or what have you.
hmm
And I think, so that's why sometimes phrases like, and it's cultural for me at this point,
hmm
phrases like romance with no finance make no sense. I'm saying it because I think it's funny, but it further highlights how sometimes we, you know, I don't know, how we view each other or judge each other by how much money you have. And I think that's a very flawed way to judge one another or to keep harmony in the family, or shaming your husband and your wife simply because they don't have a job or don't bring money, don't that's just too much, and I think it get in the way. But anyway,
Yeah. All right.
yeah.
So this is perfect. Perfect segue time now for us to jump over to what this conversation was intended to be more about, which actually it's all kind of tied together, which really is planning out the next 50 years, right? And why I wanted to talk about something like that, especially with the group of people that we have today, is because I think a lot of us are in the same place, near in age, maybe looking at the next half of our life, trying to figure out what are we going to do, what's next for us,
Right, right.
and and so I figured, by us kind of bringing that to this stage, it might give us an opportunity to gain some insight also from other people and some of the things that they're doing.
Right.
But for me, you know, I guess I'm at the point in my life that having a plan is like, it's really critical.
Yeah.
It's like an entrepreneur without a plan. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You
yeah.
find yourself running in circles, right? And I feel like that's kind of what the first 50 years of my life has been, is a lot of running in circles. Hence why I've been irons in the fire and all that. And so I'm finally getting to a point now where I realize I need to have more focus and a strategy, right? Of where am I going? What am I, all of this stuff that I'm doing, why? You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to gain some clarity with that. And now with this opportunity to teach again, like, I see everything kind of coming full of center. So all of this
Yeah.
entrepreneurial background and construction, home inspection, manufacturing, inventing, all those different things that I've done now, I think set me up to be a really good professor now. Whereas when I was talking about 20 years ago, I was a different person than I
Right.
am today.
Right.
So now looking at the next 50 years, I'm saying, what do I have to give? What do I have to offer? Because I've been trying to
What matters the
make and
most?
take, and you know what I mean, and build, right? And so now the things that I have, I want to figure out how to utilize those. So now I'm not trying to make things, I'm not trying to build things. I'm just in a growth mindset, right?
Yes. Growth
And
mindset.
with that, having a strategy of what does growth look like, basically.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to define for our family now, is what does growth look like, so that when I leave the house and I go out to make a dollar, or whatever it is that I'm doing it with purpose.
Right.
And that's
Right.
what I haven't really had a lot of, is purpose. Outside of taking care of the kids and that, but now our children are becoming adults, and like, so that's where the panic for, all right, the next 50 years, man, what are we gonna do? We gotta have something to live for, or something to die for, well, however you
Right.
want to look at it. And so that's where I'm at now. Is like, okay, You know, we have plans and aspirations to go back to South Africa and contribute there in ways and like all of those things and they
Yeah.
ideas, right? Even though we got like a little stick in the fire in
Yeah.
some things, but
Yeah.
without having a real solid strategy of okay, what's the next thing, and then the next thing and the next thing. I feel that that's why I want to have this conversation for you and I, but then for, you know, like I said, for other people who may find themselves in that same position, like here I am now, what am I going to do? You know? So
Yeah.
what's your thoughts about that?
No, that I think that's really profound, right? Because I haven't really thought about it that way. What I've been thinking about for me is that, okay, I've been working, going to school all my life, traveling, internationally, working on my health certificate and all that. And then each day that I'm out there, whether I'm in, Mexico or, Bosnia or wherever I was, all those years, each and every single day my children were growing. And that's the time I didn't get to spend with them.
Right. Right.
And that is a lot of missed opportunities because I was busy trying to grow, but not in a way that was connecting me and making me present for my children, especially emotionally. As much as I tried to take my family with me when I was traveling, wherever it was okay. But now where I am, I think I just want to be present. We have our youngest is 9 now. We have a teenager, and I think it's another opportunity, for me to be present.
Right.
Right. And to also find that happy balance that now that I work at the university and I don't do anything else, I use majority of that time to make sure that I'm present emotionally, especially not just physically but emotionally at every opportunity for my family. And just also think about everything, the way I'm relating with my children today, the things that I'm saying to them, how I the things that I'm saying today, or how I lead them, what I'm saying, and help them grow to be healthy adults. The words that I use, my actions or lack thereof, they will mean something tomorrow.
Right.
So that's why as a parent, I want to make sure that my actions towards them, my words towards them, my apathy or empathy, all of that towards them is not something that could make it hard for me to relate to them, in the future.
Well, that's actually in line, I think, with Tracy. She had a great comment here. It says, every day I wake up and do something, rather big or small, that will make the next day better for my family.
Yes.
It keeps me moving in the right direction.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that.
That's a great comment. But I want to say, like, taking a moment to be aware, of how you impact others in your life, it's very, very, very important.
No question.
It's very important. I do have friends sometimes who are still trying to reach out and like, hey, but then it's like when you go back and see how we related to one another, the words that we use and all of that, it makes it difficult sometimes in the future.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you don't shoot yourself on the foot.
No,
you know what I'm
definitely.
saying?
Yeah.
By being emotionally illiterate, if you will.
Yeah. So let's say on this subject of the next 50 years, like, I hate to put you on the spot, but just if you could maybe project out a little bit, like, is there some things that you'd like to achieve in the next 50 years, if you will?
So I will say, that wisdom, and the humility to really be cognizant, to be aware, of how I impact others, especially my children, my family, my husband, my close family, no matter how, no matter how upset or happy I am, just being present, being humble enough to know that other human beings, matters just as much as you do.
Right.
The words that are coming out of mouth, my actions, will it impact other people negatively, or not? So I think that's very important because even at work, the stories that I hear from my employees, my own family, sometimes it's like we don't take time, to say just cause I have the power or the finances or what have you, it does not give me the right to mistreat others.
Okay.
Because Kama, what they say she is, and she knows everybody's address.
Hmm.
But we shouldn't be kind and, being positive because we're afraid of the consequences. We should do so because it's the right thing to do.
I agree. So what goals would you like to achieve in the next 50 years? I get that. So,
Yeah. Meaningful, strong relationship with my family, you
okay.
know, and, my kids, my family members that I'm very close to have that genuine, unconditional relationship.
Okay, so we got that now. Then, so what next?
I'm, I know you want to
I'm
hear the
pressing.
dollar sign. You
I'm
want to hear
pressing.
the dollar sign.
No, I don't even want to hear it. It's
That because
'cause
that will come.
it
We
don't
have
even
all
have
of
to
that.
be a dollar sign as much because I don't know that the next.
Yeah. To your point, though,
Hmm.
I do love conversing with people, various subjects.
Hmm.
So I see myself retiring as a professor as well.
Okay, now we
And
get somewhere.
hopefully, somewhere
Okay.
the University of Cape Town,
Okay.
is going to be in South Africa.
What would you want to teach?
Wow. Something I can teach very easily will be technology,
Okay.
which is very, very needed, in that space, particularly in South Africa.
Okay.
I can train just about in any subject, particularly in technology, in healthcare technology in particular.
Hmm.
But, you know, I will say history as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like history.
Yeah, not history in terms of the way a lot of people think of history.
Hmm.
History, the occurrences that can predict human behavior in the future. So we don't keep repeating,
Same
same,
vicious cycle.
same mistake,
Yeah.
same vicious cycle. I
Hmm.
can care less about what year, and who was the name of the first president. I don't care about that.
Okay.
But we can talk about historical events
Hmm.
that were misunderstood because human beings, we have this herd mentality,
Hmm.
and we keep repeating, keep tripping over, our own three left feet. But
Okay.
if we take a minute and understand, the consequences of some of the things that, we subscribe into, all of that,
Hmm.
and we move forward with a conscious mind to change it and make it better for the next generation.
Okay.
So that's the kind of, not his story, but
I'm with you.
historical events.
Okay.
So I leave it at that. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, all right. So for me, in the next 50 years, like the plan for me, or what I would really kind of like at this point in my life is to have clear direction for retirement, right?
Yeah.
Like what does retirement look like? Is that retirement here and on the farm and just old age and go out that way,
Yeah.
or is it like you said, South Africa, trying to do something progressive as long as we possibly can? Because see, I'm of the mindset that,
We're snowbirds. We can be snowbirds.
well, yeah, we could do that, but I honestly want to stay relevant. I want to stay involved. I want, you know
Yeah.
what I mean, as time goes on. That's why I think it's so critical for me to have like a vision of what's happening or a place to go. That way I have something always to work
To work
towards.
towards. Yeah.
And that
Wow,
keeps
yeah.
me involved in things. It keeps me looking for tomorrow, that kind of stuff. Because it's easy to so-called retire, right? And then just find yourself getting withering. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Over time, whether
yeah.
it's mentally or physically, what have you. And so there's a couple of people that I know, really good friends of mine, that are older gentlemen who have retired from their jobs, but are very active still
Yeah.
in business, whether they're giving back to someone like myself, a small business who can benefit from having mentors that have done things for
Yeah.
many years. And so that's kind of what I'm seeing myself. Like I'm hoping that I can do that with my children or for my children. But if it's not with them, then somebody somewhere around the world to really leave an impact. So when my time comes, that it doesn't end with me.
Yeah.
Things can still, like, people could build off of stuff that I've done or that
Yeah,
I've said
legacy.
or that I've encouraged. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh,
So
wow.
that's kind of what I'm looking for is what can I set up along the way so that I've always got something to do, right? Always feel relevant and important to somebody or to something, you
Right.
know. So that's
Yeah.
me.
No, that's a really really good. Wow, there's so many nuggets in there. One of them I want to touch is like your mental health, right? I know a lot of retirees, especially when I was working at the hospital. I had few people retired, and then within few years they were no longer with us,
Right.
because they withered away.
Yep.
And what we found out is that sometimes not having something to look forward to
Yeah.
can mean something. So your
Absolutely.
mental health become very important.
Absolutely.
And another part of it is like retiring. It doesn't mean that, who finally, I've worked for 65 years, now I can take a break, right? Because we are incredible social creatures, so keeping meaningful things going. But I was going to say, most importantly, even with all the things that we're saying, being present in our family's life, our children, hopefully raising our grandchildren. You and I were still singing Itsy Bitsy Spiders while our
Right.
friends, our grandparents, so we late bloomers. But I think that's
What
that's
you
that's
saying we
very
wear
important.
bloomers?
No, we late. We
Oh.
are late bloomers. We bloom late. Maybe you do. I'm a bloomers.
They up here.
You do. I better not catch you with one.
Hey, we
But
got a comment here from Shane from Adala. He says, "This is a great episode, guys. I'm just here soaking in all the wisdom y'all be
oh,
handing out. Much love to you both. Thank you very
thank
much,
you.
nephew. We
Thank
really
you so
appreciate
much.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this, coming back today almost feels like, day one again. But this is what I like about our show. I think we kind of talked about this on and off. Is that most shows they're very structured, and all
Yeah.
that, and we try to structure our shows.
Yeah.
But for the kind of people that we are, we move in the moment, and I enjoy having conversations that are unpredictable as
Yeah.
to where they might go, and so that's why I always want to make sure at least we leave nuggets, something
Right.
that
Right.
as we are talking and
Yeah.
we discover
Like it's under
something.
the hood.
Yeah, nuggets under the hood, chicken nuggets,
Yeah.
turkey nuggets, whatever nugget,
Yeah.
gold nugget, whatever. But yeah, I think that's the core of why I want to continue to do this, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we didn't get to talk a lot about planning the next 50 years. So I think it's good that we ended on that now, so
Yeah.
that next week, when we
Yeah.
come back next week, we're going to have a much more thorough conversation. And please, all of those who have watched tonight and those who will watch this, later on, please feel free to come. Bring your questions, bring your scenarios, bring your
Yeah.
thoughts, your comments,
What is
because
your next 50 years
yeah,
plan?
I need help. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm looking for people to, I appreciate folks talking about our wisdom and things of that nature, but our wisdom is really a product of the people that we know as well,
Yeah.
and those interactions. And so having you all participate in our conversations and share your feedback and thoughts that just help us do what we're doing here better.
True.
And like I said, for me, the next 50 years are crucial. And so anybody who is watching who has maybe at that same point in their life and they're trying to plan, or maybe have already spent time thinking about it, or maybe it's already mapped out for you, I invite you to the show. Maybe we can even bring you actually into the show and
Yeah.
discuss it if there's
Talk about
somebody
it.
who really wants to get down to the nitty gritty, because I'm excited about the next 50 years. I know that I have a lot left in me.
The next half of our
And I know
lives.
you
Yeah.
got a lot left in you, and I'm sure many of us, Tracy, Shane, all of y'all, Compass, we all got a lot left in us, and so we have to do something with that.
Yeah.
And that's why Conversations Under the Hood is here, because again, as long as I feel relevant and I can share and I
Yeah.
can watch, you know what I mean? That makes me feel
Wow, you're bringing
important.
something very important, and I'll try to say this, a few words.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be intentional,
Absolutely.
and we have to have a plan. Because without a plan, I feel like for the first half of our lives, we just have been reacting to life. I have to have this job in order to feed my family, but you don't really have a solid plan that you can then begin to work towards that ultimate goal.
Right.
So in our lives right now, with our kids being older, even though we still have a couple younger ones, it's imperative, to your point, for us to have a plan, one, to be intentional about our plan and to begin taking steps towards, our plan. Without a plan, we all just wither away before you know it, and time goes really fast.
Right.
Before we know it, we're in nursing homes and stuff like that, regretting what we could have, should have
Absolutely.
done.
Absolutely.
So, and while putting our family first, before anything else. So, no, I think that's a really great nugget.
Okay.
Very well said.
All right. Well, you see what time it is. We done
Oh,
slipped
my
past the
goodness.
hour
Wow,
already.
see, look at that.
It's been a great evening, a great
Yeah,
show.
thank you so much.
I'm thankful for all of the comments and participation today. We look forward to, again, any other comments that anyone might have, because next week when we come back, we are going to be talking about that next 50 years, and we're going to take some time this week and really kind of scrutinize that idea so that when we come back, we can have some solid things to share with you all. And so we ask that you all do the same. Take some time this week. Think about, what life looks like for you. And then let's come back next week and talk about it.
Absolutely. Remember to be kind, to be patient.
That's right.
And to stay in your integrity. Things will just fall in place.
And ladies and gentlemen, on that note, Conversations Under the Hood is out of here. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Until then, have a great week. We ouch, baby. Peace.